So let's say you have a song, and it sounds pretty good, right? But there's something missing. The kick is just not powerful enough. It needs a little more oomph. Before you pull out the sound goodizer, let me talk to you about compressors. Compressors is one of the most important and powerful tools in music production. It's involved in just about everything from your percussions to your vocals to your synths. And even after you finished mixing and adjusting all the volumes, if your sounds are not loud, quote unquote, enough or consistent, then you probably need a compressor. In this case, we're going to be looking at using a compressor for kick drums, one of the most important aspects in dance music, specifically in future funk. I think that applying compressors on a kick drums is probably one of the better ways to get familiar with this type of tool. So the question is, what is a compressor? Simply speaking, you're squeezing or compressing your sound waves. The best analogy that I can think of is when you're packing your bags and you're trying to fit all your clothing into your bag. So you're just stuffing it in till it's nice and packed. A compressor is similar to that. You give a specific space or a threshold that your sound can go freely in, and anything outside of that threshold has to be squeezed in. A compressor has several components. You have your threshold, which is basically the line at which your compressor is triggered, so anything above the threshold triggers the compressor. Your ratio is the ratio at which your sound is being compressed. For example, in this case, 3 decibels that it's above the threshold, it gets squeezed to just 1 decibel. So you could turn up this ratio as high as you want, and at that point, it just becomes sort of a limiter. The next thing that you have is your gain. So once you're done compressing your sounds, sometimes you lose a little bit of volume. So you use this gain to sort of compensate for that. Your attack is how long it takes for the compressor to kick in once it's triggered. So basically, for example, if I move this knob over here to 92.8 milliseconds, right? From the moment any sound goes above your threshold, then it'll take 92.8 milliseconds for the compressor to fully come in. Your release is sort of the opposite. Once your compressor is no longer being activated, the release is just how long it takes for it to just turn off. Those are the basic features of compressor. Other compressors have other features like a knee or a sustain, but for the most part, these are the essential knobs that you need to focus with compressor. I'm not going to focus too much on type. What I put together is just a kick that I've created. It's really spent a little bit of time just coming up with it so it sounds good. So let's just play it, see how it sounds from the beginning. So, doesn't sound too bad. So, I set up 2 limiters to show you how the wave looks like before and after the compressor, just to give you an idea of the magic that's going on over here, right? So let's play the kick without any compressors. Let's freeze here. So let's say I want to make my threshold about 9.5 decibels. So let's turn this on. And let's move this down to 9.6 will do. So let's give it a decent ratio. I'll give it a ratio of 5. And I'll tighten up the release. And when you're tightening up the release, it gives you a more distorted sound. So I would definitely play this one by ear just to see what what you would like. Normally I don't touch attack with when it comes to kicks, just because you're trying to compress the transient sounds, and these attacks will just sort of keep it there. So I won't be touching this. So let me lower the threshold a little bit more. And now, as you see, we've lost some volume here. So this is the original sound. Here it's a bit more compressed, but we lose a little bit of loudness here. So let's use the gain to sort of compensate for that. So let's hear how it sounds without the compressor. Let's hear how it sounds with the compressor. Now, right now it's a bit more of a subtle change. You can hear the lower ends a lot more, with a lot more power to it. But if we exaggerate these values a bit more, you'll sort of see what we can really get with the compressor. So let me turn down to 13.3, bump up the ratio, and I'm just going to even tighten the release even more. And I'm going to bump up the gain to bring it back to the same level. So now you have a lot. So now you see right here, there's definitely a lot more meat in this kick. So let's hear the difference. Here you hear that transient, that sort of mid level of the kick. It's sort of popping, but you don't hear much of a low end. So with the compressor, what we're really doing is we're bringing out the low end of that kick. And when you play this in a song, right, you can really feel the kick. And that is how you use a compressor for kick drums. If there are any more applications that you want me to talk about, or if there are any details that you want me to go over, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I will see you later.